All right. This is chapter 1, section 2, the body without organs. Today we're finally going to get into it. I apologize that I did not or was not able to do this like on the strict weekly basis that I'm trying to do it. But nonetheless, a day late, but we're here. Okay, so let's get into it. So this section opens up with Deleuze and Guattari talking about how the desiring machines themselves are interpreted as bothersome to the body without organs, and when the body without organs, and we'll go into exactly and how what the body without organs is in terms of how they describe it. We may still be perhaps unclear exactly what the body without organs is, but I think this section will elaborate on a lot more, considering how we left off with on desiring machines. Okay, so what happens with this interaction when the body without organs finds the desiring machine sort of invasive? What the body without organs will do is that they will actually push away the desiring machine, right? They will repel them, right? They will repel them and repress the desiring machines. And Deleuze and Guattari in this section, they actually say that this is tantamount to calling the body without organs the primary repression, right? With this kind of containing or pushing away or repressing of the desiring machines, this is what we can call the primary repression. And with this result, what ends up happening is that the body without organs will create a sort of a slippery surface to counteract the desiring machines and create its own counterflow. And we'll get into more of that in the next slide. So this result of the desiring machines trying to break in, right? And the body without organs repelling them, again, this is what they would call the primary repression. And they make a note to say that this is not countercathexis. And countercathexis is what Freud tried to, what Freud came up with. It was a mechanism for Freud to explain what exactly, or what was the mechanism that maintains repression. And this is what Freud came up with. He came up with countercathexis. Now, as you can see here, what they're trying to reject is that they're trying to say that the body without organs is not a sort of mechanism that maintains repression, right? So they're just saying that this repelling of desiring machines, it is the result of it is the primary repression, but again, this is not a countercathexis, right? This is not a mechanism to maintain repression. They really want us to take note of that. And so this result of the opposition creates what they call the paranoiac machine. Paranoiac machine. And the result will be that the body without organs will actually create a type of persecuting organ to deal with the desiring machines. Right here you have what comes secondary, right, which is projection, the counter investment, and they give an example here like agent of persecution. So this collision of the desiring machines trying to get into the body without organs, and then the body without organs repelling the desiring machine. This is what they call the paranoiac machine, right? This is the interaction between desiring machines and the body without organs. And in the section, they merely say that the paranoiac machine is just the avatar of desiring machines. Okay. Now, what happens is that, so to show you like how tricky the body without organs is, and remember in the last section, we actually said that the body without organs is, they define it as an imageless body. So what the body without organs does, right? It creates its own surface of recording. And because it creates its own surface of recording, what is going to happen is that the body without organs, you could say, kind of tricks us into thinking that this body without organs is that it appears like it appears that this is the cause for production, right? That's, I don't know why I'm struggling to say this, but it appears as the cause of production, but it's not. and they use an example when they go into the more phenomenological comparison or parallel with desiring production and social production, and they try to make note in the beginning that this is strictly a phenomenological explanation to sort of just give us more insight on exactly the forces and interactions with the body without organs and desiring machines. And a good example that they use for social production is that they will say that capital is the body without organs, serving as the quasi-cause, quasi meaning it seems like it's the cause for production. Another way to look at this, we can take money as well as an example, in some sense, right? Because capital is money in this sense as well. But just to kind of think about it, like, for example, we work for money, right? At least that's what we think we do. We work for money, but actually, if we trace further back, there was a time where we actually didn't work for money. So it would be you could say it would be an assumption to think that it's money that really runs the whole cause of production, right? That would be a sort of false supposition. And I still think that their use of capital here for the body without organs as a quasi cause for production is a good it's a good example. I think that's a really good way to explain it. So again, the body without organs as a way of kind of, you could say, as a way of defending itself, it will trick us, right? It will create this surface, this slippery surface, and everything gets recorded on the surface of the body without organs. And because everything is sort of seen and witnessed from on this surface of the body without organs, we start to think that everything that emanates from it within the recording of the production, that we start thinking that this is actually the cause of production. And that would be, a false, it would be wrong to think that. But this is the interaction between. So then they go into the miraculated machine. the attraction machine. Basically, what they're saying in this is that not only does the body without organs also oppose the productive forces, but it also can attract the desiring machines, right? And so this is remember when I said that the body without organs can trick you? This is exactly what I was talking about, the attraction machine. And to kind of give you a better example of what that is, or just to read what they wrote here about what exactly is this attraction machine, they describe it here as it does not restrict itself merely to opposing. Well, they're still talking about the body without organs, but the attraction itself, this is what will create the attraction machine. So again, it does not restrict itself merely to opposing productive forces in and of themselves. It falls back on all production, constituting a surface over which the forces and agents of production are distributed, thereby appropriating for itself all surplus production and arrogating to itself both the whole and parts of the process, which now seem to emanate from it as a quasi-cause. Forces and agents come to represent a miraculous form of its own power. They appear to be miraculated by it. Okay, so to kind of give you another example, it would be like, pretend that the body without organs is a like a field of whatever plant you could think of, or like just maybe a field of wheat, right? And well, previously it was an empty field, and a farmer came along and he started planting this wheat. And so what the body without organs will do is that, from the farmer's perspective, it will trick the farmer into thinking that this wheat growing is actually from the body. It's actually from himself to some degree, right? Actually, I mean, well, all I'm trying to say is that the forces and agents that come to represent, I would say, like this, like specific class, like for example, when they were talking about how capital is the body without organs, we would say the capitalist is the agent that represents the form of its power. That's really what I'm trying to say. So, I don't know why I tried to do the farmer example. I guess I didn't practice that one, but really the farmer example would just be like, he would be the agent of the production, or the force of the production, right? Because he's the farmer. And yeah, should have practiced that one. But anyways, I think with the capitalist, capital, I think we kind of get what's going on here. And so this would be the attraction machine. So already we're starting to see that there is an interaction with the body without organs, where the body without organs will actually completely repress the desiring machines, right? It will completely push them away, and it will sort of come into the form of like an agent of persecution. So we could kind of say like this is like almost tantamount to the death instinct in some ways. And then there's the attraction portion, where it sort of tricks us into thinking that it itself is the power behind, or the sole cause of all this production. And to kind of go further, so it creates basically a false recording. Deleuze and Guattari say like society creates its own delirium by only paying attention to this kind of recording. They make sure to tell us that the recording of production is not done in the same way it is produced. it seems like there's two different laws, right? Because what the recording of production will do with its recording law is that it will seem like it's distributing, um, and then and that it's different from the production of production law, which is the coupling and the synthesis of machines. But the non-productive element is the presupposition, right? The disjunction of capital. And so we'll see exactly a little bit more what a disjunction is. So in talking about the body without organs, or actually disjunctions, what ends up happening is that when the body without organs is doing its tricking the desiring machines and attracting it with its enchanted surface, what ends up happening is that it covers over the my goodness. So this is going to be hard to say. Okay, so basically disjunctions, what they become basically either ors, or for the schizo it's either or. And the way they describe this either or is that it's a decisive choice, and then the either or of the schizo is that all the possible differences, you could say all the possible disjunctions amount to the same on the surface. The surface meaning the surface of the body without organs. I realize that this slide is a little bit out of order, but we're going to try to make it work. And so this interaction with the disjunctive synthesis of recording partly covers over the connective synthesis into a method of inscribing. So now things are becoming inscribed. And what this inscription leads to is that it leads to the libido transforming. And I know it's a little bit confusing right now, so I will recap after this. But so what ends up happening is that with the disjunction, so when we're talking about that the body without organs creates this recording surface, and they're saying that it's different from the actual design production process. What they're referring to is the disjunctive, the disjunctive synthesis of recording. That's what they're talking about. And they're saying that when it overlaps with the connective synthesis that it now goes into a disjunctive inscription. And this is when the connective labor, right, the connective synthesis of machines, they call the connective labor the libido, right? It then transforms the libido into numen energy, which is divine. So this is the divine energy that runs throughout the body without organs. And to give us some more clarification on disjunction, they say that disjunction will take the form and content will take the form of a genealogy of desire. And what I give here is that it's like the Oedipus disjunction, right? It's daddy, mommy, me. And remember previously when I said that the previous slide was a little bit out of order with the either or. So the Oedipus disjunction, we can look at it as it's either you are being Oedipalized or you are, normal, right? Like either you've resolved the Oedipus complex or you have not resolved the Oedipus complex. So this will kind of represent the decisive choice with the disjunction. But the genealogy of desire, I put, daddy, mommy, me. And when they were talking about that the schizophrenic does the either or, again, this shows how the schizophrenic sort of escapes the doesn't have to choose between resolving the Oedipus complex or being Oedipalized, right? It can still just escape another way. It finds another possibility. That's what they meant. And this is why I feel like this is out of order, so I apologize for that. And to kind of quote the quote them here is that they say the body thought organs is not God, quite the contrary, but the energy that sweeps through it is divine when it attracts to itself the entire process of production and serves as its miraculate, enchanted surface, inscribing it in each and every one of its disjunctions. So it's the Newman energy that gets inscribed through all the disjunctions on the body thought organs. So that is the only divine part. That's what they want to keep reminding us. And then the section goes into some of the critiques about the Oedipal triangle, where they say that it's not really innovative, and the interpretations and the questions always keep going back to this reference of Oedipus. They also feel, Deleuze and Guattari also feel that it can't really explain adequately the psychotic phenomena, and that really they feel that the Oedipus, that if we were to trace the genealogy of desire of the Oedipal triangle, that they really feel like really this is a consequence or requirement of social reproduction. And they actually gives like several examples with, there's a part in the section where it's like Malloy is talking to an officer, and the officer keeps asking him questions like, oh, but it's your mother, right? Like, what's the name of your mother? What's the name of your father? And all these questions kind of constantly referring back to the social code of like having a mother, having a father. And that's why they also feel like it's not really innovative, and it just strictly seems like it's just a consequence or requirement of social reproduction. And then the other critique of the Oedipal triangle is that they give examples of how the schizophrenic is resistant to Oedipalization, and this will go into the other slide that I have about that. But one thing that they note is that the way desiring machines work is that it follows the bilinear series, which I had introduced in Desiring Machines, on the section of Desiring Machines, where it's this 2-1-2-1, right? The one being the full body without organs, where it doesn't allow for any kind of triangulation to occur. And so going now into the schizo, they say that the schizo never invokes the same genealogy of desire, right? So we could say that it never invokes the same kind of form of disjunction, and that the schizo actually has his own recording code, and tends to, they say, it seems like the schizo kind of goes from code to code, right? Like it scrambles all the codes. And one of the examples that they give here with the schizo sort of undermining the Oedipal code or reimpregnating it is that they say that sometimes the schizo will accept it, right? They will accept the Oedipal code, but then sometimes the schizo, depending on just how he feels, basically, will undermine it by saying, yes, it is my mother, but Mother Mary. Or they give another example in the section where the schizo will reimpregnate it, meaning like, I think they said something about, there's a section about birds, where the schizo will admit that it's like it is my siblings or something, but then they'll go back and say that it's little birds. They'll give it a divine meaning again. So this is what they mean by re-impregnating. And just to give the last summary, I decided to go into what Ian Buchanan says about the body without organs, just to kind of help us kind of grasp exactly what this is that, and I quote him from his essay on delusion on the internet, where Buchanan writes, more to the point, conceptually, the body without organs should be understood as our way of coping with physical constraints. It is our means of fabricating a mental position from which to view the conditions of our everyday life as making sense. And this goes back to the original beginning slides where Deleuze and Guattari described the body without organs as sort of being the divine presupposition, right? Playing the role of that divine presupposition. And just to kind of, I think, go through the last, I think I will read, this is a little bit something I don't do, but I'll sort of just read the last like 2 lines of this section where they say, but all this happens and is all recorded on the surface of the body without organs, even the copulations of the agents, even the divisions of God, even the genealogies, marking it off into squares like a grid, and their permutations. The surface of this uncreated body swarms with them, as a lion's mane swarms with fleas. And to go back into disjunctions and how they describe the way disjunctions and the body without organs look, we can think of disjunctions like little points on a graph, on a grid, like on a graph grid. And the body without organs is this graph looking kind of grid. And the energy that are making all these disjunctions is the Newman, right? The energy of inscription that they talked about. And the disjunctions themselves takes the form of our genealogy of desire. So just kind of looking back with everything that I said, we can say that what they're really saying is that there's so many disjunctions, so many forms of genealogy of desires, that the schizo himself makes them amount to the same as if it was the surface. So basically the schizo never gets tricked by the presuppositions. You could say he never gets tricked. He's just as fluid. He's just as fluid as the desire itself, and as flowing as desire. Which they do remark and say that desire behaves like fluid, like flows, and that's a lot of their concept with this partial object flows, like we talked about in Desiring Machines and so on. So hopefully that clarifies a lot of what I've been trying to say. But all right, that'll be it. All right, guys, take care.